Jesus cried with a loud voice. He said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. And having said thus, he gave up the ghost. Jesus had seen human suffering at its worst. He had felt the need of the desperate woman whose fingertips had touched the hem of his garment. He had felt the need of he felt the Samaritan woman who was by the side of the well. He felt the shame of the woman caught in adultery. He felt the loneliness of the blind man. He felt the isolation of the lepers. He felt the impending doom of those born in a world corrupted by sin. He saw the snooty arrogance of the so-called religious leaders and the politicians of that day. And he knew that there would be no help. So through a heart of compassion, he went through the cross. The cross was Jesus' final act of obedience in his earthly ministry. This was the only way he could bring healing to a hurting humanity, so the brokenness of humanity could be fixed. Jesus laid his life into the hands of his Father. When we read our text, it says, darkness came over the whole land, and the sun stopped shining. The curtain of the temple was rent in two. The curtain, the inner curtain that separates the holies of holies from the temple. It is the throne room of God. Only the high priests were allowed to enter in. The curtain rent in two, theologians believe that was God opening up the Holy of Holies to believers. You no longer need a high priest to come in and make sacrifices for you. You can go directly into the Holy of Holies and speak to God for yourself because Jesus is our high priest. He has reconciled us to the Father. In these last words, Jesus gave himself totally and completely over to God. He said, into your hands I commend my spirit. When we read Matthew 17 and 22, while Jesus was in Galilee, he was speaking with his disciples, and he said, the Son of Man is about to be betrayed into the hands of men. Over in Matthew 26 and 45, Jesus said, behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is being betrayed into the hands of sinners. For those last few hours on that day, he placed his body into the hands of sinful men. With their hands, they arrested him illegally. With their hands, they stripped him naked. With their hands, they beat him and whipped him until the flesh fell from his bones. With their hands, they plucked his beard and slapped his face. And with their hands, they jammed a crown of thorns upon his head. With their hands, they nailed him to the cross. And now on that cross, Jesus gives his spirit into the hands of his Father. In those hands, Jesus found comfort, security, and strength. He gives himself into the hands of the one who could only do what no other hands can do, and that was to deliver him out of the hands of men. By those loving hands of his Father, Jesus said, into thy hands I commend my spirit. Jesus was praying from Psalms 31 and 5, that prayer every Jewish mother had taught their child when they were going to sleep. Just as we learn, now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. These Jewish mothers taught their children to say, into thy hands I commend my spirit. Jesus said, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. Father being translated as daddy. Jesus maintains this childlike faith and trust in the Father, even while on the cross, when it looked like evil had triumphed. Jesus trusted God. Why? Because Jeremiah 29 and 11 says, I know the thoughts that I have for you. Thoughts of good and not of evil, to bring you about to an expected end. Thoughts to prosper you and not harm you. Thoughts to give you a hope and a future. You see, what God wanted for Jesus, he wants for us as well. So we need to learn to say, Father, into thy hands I commend my spirit. Father, into thy hands I commend my mind. Father, into thy hands I commend my struggle. Father, into my hands I commend my marriage, my health, my future, and all that I hope to be. Father, into thy hands I give it all to you. The same faith that Jesus showed in his death lets us know that it's not only in how we live, but it's in how we die also. See, there was a centurion soldier standing by watching sure everything went down the way that it was supposed to go. But as he watched Jesus, who died on the cross, he saw and he said, surely this man is the Son of God. See, even in our death can be a witness that when we're in the hands of God, everything is going to be all right. God bless you.